Hello BookTube, it's Leah Cooper here, and today I'm doing the drunk book tag. I was tagged by Jessie from Reading, Writing, No Arithmetic. Let me try that again. I was tagged by Jessie from Reading, Writing, No Arithmetic. That's a lot of sounds. I will leave a link to her video as well as the creator's video. Pages and Pens, I think, is the originator of this tag, or this particular iteration of the tag. I have kind of a new drink. It's a twist on a mimosa made with kombucha and rosé, and you're supposed to use a sparkling rosé, but I just had a regular rosé, and the kombucha is sparkling on its own, so it's delicious. And no, I don't usually drink wine out of a tumbler glass, but since I have lipstick, I really didn't want to get a big old red lipstick rim on a wine glass, a nice wine glass, you know? This obviously is not enough to get me drunk. I'd have to drink like 2 entire bottles of rosé to do that, but it's the spirit of the thing. We'll take a drink and let's get started. I'm gonna have to read the questions off my laptop, so forgive me. Question number 1 is wine coolers. It says, you're 16 and you finally managed to sneak one of your mom's Smirnoff Ices. What is one of your most guilty pleasure reads? Man, Smirnoff Ice. That brings back weird memories of drinking wine coolers playing World of Warcraft, because that's what I did in my early 20s. One of my most guilty pleasure reads probably has to be Bridget Jones's Diary. So I mentioned this book a lot. You know, it's kind of like one of my slump buster books, something I read when I'm stuck on reading. But I freaking love Bridget Jones. It's not got a whole lot of literary merit, but it's hilarious, and it's such a like gem of the late 90s. It's such a classic kind of, well, when I say late 90s, it's like late 90s, early 2000s. Just kind of quintessential book for, I want to say, people around my age. Another drink. Question 2 is beer. You've made it to college and are hosting your first kegger. Pick your favorite new adult or college-aged book. So I've been thinking about the answer to this question because I don't read new adult at all. And I don't even think I've read anything with college-age characters that, you know, irregardless of being new adult. I just don't read that, I don't know, subgenre. I didn't have a traditional college experience, and I'm not really interested in reading about the traditional college experience, and I'm really sick of college at this point because I spent 6 years in it and still don't have my bachelor's. And then when I tried to think of like college AUs in fan fiction, I even struggled with that because I don't read a whole lot of those either because I don't particularly like them. But there's one college AU I thought of that I actually really enjoy, and I will leave a link to it down below if you're a Teen Wolf Hysteric fan and you want to check it out and you haven't already. I think it's called This Is a Brotherhood. Yeah, and it's about, you know, Styles and Scott pledging the rival fraternity to Derek's fraternity, and Styles becomes the mastermind behind a series of pranks on Derek's fraternity, and it's freaking hilarious. And that's as good as I can do. Question 3 is tequila. You partied too hard last night and drank a little too much. Jose Cuervo. What's a book that you never want to see again? Or your least favorite book? American Gods by Neil Gaiman. I suffered through reading that. Hated every minute of it. On top of that, I was expecting to really enjoy it, so the fact that I hated it as much as I did just kind of compounds how much I hate it. Question 4. Beer bong. What's a book that you read super fast? There's a couple I could list, but most recently that would have to be Captive Prince, which I read in a day and a half. I read that whole trilogy in the space of like 4 days because I just devoured it. It was so good. It was so emotional, and I wanted to get to the end to see how all the plots unraveled. Another one that I read super fast, though admittedly it's also kind of short, is Peter Darling by Austin Chant. It's a pretty new release. It features a trans Peter Pan who returns to Neverland as an adult and sparks things off with Captain Hook. And it's freaking amazing and delightful. Admittedly, it's really short, so it's easy to read it really fast, but it's so good, and I highly recommend it. If I don't do a full review, I'll definitely do like a more in-depth wrap-up during my June wrap-up, but oh man. I'll leave a link to it down below. If like trans Peter Pan, Captain Hook adventure sounds good to you, check it out. This is delicious, by the way. I've never had kombucha before this. It's really delicious. Question 5. Spring break. You've thrown your inhibitions to the wind and end up having a sexy night you'll never forget. What is your favorite smutty read? I've read a few romance novels. This would be like so much easier if I was answering this with fanfic answers. And I don't want to say Captive Prince again, though Captive Prince would be pretty up there. There are some really good scenes in books 2 and 3 of that trilogy. And there are some really good scenes in the Magpie Lord series, particularly the interlude between books 1 and 2. But I think this is one of those things where fanfic usually does a better job of smut. Question 6 is Screwdriver. What's the most twisted book you've ever read? I don't think I have a good answer for this. I can think of some books I know of that are twisted. For example, Flowers in the Attic is pretty twisted, but I've never read it. I have no desire to read it, and I don't think I've really read anything twisted. I mean, I read kind of tame stuff. That, or my scale for what actually qualifies as twisted is way too high, so I can't answer this because, like, nothing pings it high enough. It would have to be pretty twisted. Because again, I could think of Hannibal or Silence of the Lambs, but I've never actually read those. I suck at answering these. I'm just gonna drink because I'm better at drinking than answering these questions. 7. Long Island iced tea, which, whew, I do love me some Long Island iced tea. The melting pot of alcoholic beverages. What is one of your favorite diverse reads? I'm gonna give 2 answers for this. 1, I think Peter Darling is a great example of an amazingly diverse book. Like I said, it's got a trans main character, it's got a main character with a disability, and it's written by a trans author. So that's really great. Oh, and it features a queer relationship. Another good diverse book would probably be the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. So that's the 5th season and The Obelisk Gate and the 3rd book, which I can't think of its name, but that's a really good diverse series. It has racial diversity, it has sexual diversity, it has identity diversity, so it's got like it's got a trans character, it's got lots of different types of relationships, lots of different orientations. That's it, and it's just like a really great trilogy, so check that one out. Question 8. Sex on the Beach. A drink that's great in theory, but wasn't exactly all it was cracked up to be. What is a book that just didn't live up to the hype? Ooh, okay. Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. I was so excited when I heard about this book because it is about, ostensibly, a princess who is destined to marry this prince of a neighboring kingdom, and she goes, to marry him, and then she meets his sister and falls in love with her. And there's magic. That's what it was supposed to be. And, I mean, it had those elements, but it was really poorly written. And it was really boring on top of that, which ties into it was really poorly written. And the relationship was the best part about it, but it was also only kind of so-so. I was so anticipating reading that book. I jumped on the wait list as soon as it came into my library, and it was pretty terrible. Question 9. Wine. You've just gone through a rough breakup, so you park yourself in bed with your favorite bottle of wine, some ice cream, and a bucket of your tears. Name a book that made you cry out all of your feels. Okay, I am a crier. When I say I cried through the 2nd hour of Rogue One, I mean that literally. Like, just ugly crying constantly throughout that movie. I mean, I cried through most of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I cried everything. However, a book in recent memory that just, made me bawl my eyes out would have to be Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I was not expecting to fall so hard and so fast for Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, but oh my god, I did. I really liked it. I thought it had a really decent plot. The plot is weaker than I think the character development, but the characters are so good, and hence why I just total cry fest through the last little bit of Crooked Kingdom. And if you've read that book, I'm sure you can guess why I cried. Yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but oh man, I had a lot of feels in that book. I think I should finish this by the end of the tag. Question 10. Strip Club. What's the sexiest naked book? Do they mean a hardcover without the jacket on? Okay, so I just have to say, I'm not really into the whole aestheticism of books. I do think books can be really pretty, but I really don't judge a book by its cover. because I think this has to do with growing up kind of in the 90s and reading a lot of like 70s, 80s, 90s books that had hideous covers. And so if like I had read according to like, if I had read because I liked a cover, I wouldn't have read a whole lot. Like I read so many books with hideous covers on them. So I really don't judge a book by its cover. Another thing is, you know, a lot of people say they love the smell of old books. I hate the smell of old books. I think it smells pretty foul because it's like dust, and I have to get over my like revulsion of touching something that strangers have touched when I read books in the library. Like I have to do a lot of mental gymnastics not to think about that. I have this manky used copy of, I think it's The Order of the Phoenix, that I had to cut out part of the cover, and I had to take out some of the pages because it was like so gross. I mean, and my standard of gross is like, probably other people would just be like, oh, it's a little bit dirty or whatever. I'm like, no, we have to like laminate this before I can touch it. And I really love digital books because I like reading on my laptop or reading on my phone. So I don't really go into the whole aestheticism of books. And I especially don't do it with hardcovers. I will only read a hardcover if I get it from the library, and therefore the cover is like all laminated and taped and doesn't come off. I freaking hate hardcover dust jackets, and I won't buy hardcovers. I won't even really buy used hardcovers. Like, you know, sometimes you can get really popular used hardcovers for like 50 cents at Half Price Books, and I really won't buy those unless it's a book that I am desperate to read and I've been struggling to find, just because I don't want to deal with the hassle. So all that's to say, I don't have an answer to this question because I don't buy hardcovers, I don't collect hardcovers, and I certainly don't look at them with their dust jackets off. Sorry. That's just kind of like my 2 cents. I like reading digital or paperback. I really don't like reading hardcover. I really don't like hardcovers. They are constructed better, I will grant you that. They do last longer, you know, than a paperback. You don't have like the spine cracking and the glue drying out and pages falling out. And that's really nice, but they're a pain in the ass to read, and they're heavy, and I hate dust jackets. Okay, and so the final section is supposed to be like some never have I ever to help you decide who to tag or something. I don't know. I'm not going to tag anyone in this just because I don't know if the people I would tag drink necessarily, and so I don't, you know, want to tag them and then they're like, oh, I don't drink. You know, which, you know, you do you. But if you're watching this video and you like to drink, go ahead and consider yourself tagged, make a video, let me know you've made it and I will go and watch it. Question for anyone who was watching this, something a little bit different. Let me know what your favorite drink is down in the comments below. Now, it doesn't have to be an alcoholic drink, but I would love to know what your favorite thing to order at the bar or to make at home is. Conversely, if you're a wine or a beer drinker, let me know what your favorite wine or beer is. And yeah, finished. That's the drunk book tag. I'm still not drunk, but it was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.